What's up, everyone? We're going to be going to the best NBA player props on Prizepicks today. Now, we didn't have the greatest day for yesterday's picks, but we are looking to bounce back, and I got some locks for you today. But when we look at the results from yesterday's picks from my exclusive Discord group, however, we actually got 21 picks correct, which was absolutely insane. Now, a lot of you comment wanting to see how many I got wrong, and I thought I'd show you in today's video. We only got 2 picks wrong and got 21 right, which is a 92% win rate. Yes, guys, you heard that right. 92% win rate. So we're on a huge hot streak, but if you want to get 21 picks right like me, win more bets and receive the best picks from some of the best bettors in the world for less than a cup of coffee, you can access the exclusive Discord and meet some of the best sport bettors in the game by joining my Patreon, which will be linked down below in the description. Once you join, you'll have complete access to the Discord and can start winning more bets today. So make sure you join my Patreon using the link in the description. And here's one of our members who just signed up and won himself $200 just yesterday. Another member who won $100 for the 6th day in a row since joining my Discord. So guys, if you want to win big money like our members, the link will be in the description. So go join the Patreon to have access to the Discord group. And I will be continuing to upload every single day on this channel, the best bets and props. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my daily uploads. So quick shout to Tyvon Burge 2956 who said let's cash. Shout out also to Zoe2323 who gave me the thumbs up emoji, and shout out to LB 56291 who spammed up the emojis. So shouts out to them, and if you do want to win a shout out in the next video, all you have to do is comment down below on this video and like it, and you can be in the running to win a shout out in the next one. Alright, so let's get straight into the first pick. And when it comes to these picks, I'm not saying to chuck all of them into a parlay and hope for the best. Pick and choose the ones that you like and the ones that work best for you. So the first pick we're going to be talking about is none other than SGA. Now, as you all know, SGA has had himself a really good series, and this one is actually for 5.5 rebounds, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at SGA, we've actually seen him go on the under in 4 out of the last 5 games. Now, looking at SGA, we have seen his last 5 games. May 19th against Denver, had 3 rebounds there. May 21st against Minnesota, had 5 rebounds. Then May 23rd against Minnesota again, had 3 rebounds. Then May 25th against Minnesota in game 3, had actually 2 rebounds there, and then had 9 rebounds in game 4. Now, when it comes to this series, it's definitely been an exciting one, and SGA and the Oklahoma City Thunder find themselves in a really good position because they are currently up 3-1 in this series against Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, as you all know, looking at the series between Thunder and Timberwolves, it's definitely been a tough one. Now, even though OKC do have a substantial lead, anything is still really possible. Now, looking at OKC, starting off with them, they did come at the number 1 spot in the Western Conference with a record of 68-14. So they actually did a fantastic job there. They had, an 82.9% win percentage, which I thought was great. And they also finished off the season with a 4-game win streak. Now, looking at the other side of the table, you also see the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have done a great job, and they did come in at the 6th spot in the Western Conference with a 49-33 record with a 59.8% win percentage, and also finished off the season with a 3-game win streak, while heading into the playoffs. Now, both of these teams have definitely, endured tough battles in order to be in this position in the Western Conference Finals, and it's definitely been a tough road for both. But looking at Thunder did knock out the Grizzlies in a pretty easy fashion in round 1, and then in round 2 faced off against a former NBA champion, which were the Denver Nuggets with Nikola Jokic, and it was an MVP battle between Jokic and SGA, but Thunder were able to take them to game 7 and get the job done. And on the other side of things, you saw Timberwolves, who did knock out the number 3 seed Lakers, who had a 50-32 record, and then also knocked out the Golden State Warriors, who did rank in the 7th seed, but also did that in 5 games as well. So both of these teams definitely deserve to be here, and looking at OKC and the Minnesota matchup and looking where Minnesota do rank when it comes to rebounds allowed, we do actually see that Minnesota Timberwolves do rank 8th when it comes to rebounds allowed. And that's a big reason why we do very much like the under for this situation here. For someone like SGA, he definitely has been playing great, but his rebounding numbers have not really been the best. Now, looking at someone like SGA, a big reason for this as well is that when you also look at his usage rate, not just during this series, but also, during the whole playoffs, he's really been focused more on, scoring points and dishing out assists. The rebounds, it has been left to other players in this Oklahoma City Thunder team, and that's what we are expecting in this next matchup for him to kind of do the same as they are trying to close out this series. Like I mentioned, this is a make or break game for both of these teams. If Timberwolves lose, they get sent home, but also SGA and Oklahoma City Thunder are actually in the NBA Finals. So that's why this is going to be a very, very big game. We are expecting SGA to have a little bit more usage rate in the points department due to that. And we also have seen him struggle against Minnesota, over those last 4 games. Yes, he did go on the over in the most recent one, but like I always mention, guys and girls, there is always, those games where they go against their line. But I think in this next one, we should see him go on the under. Now, his average over the last 5 is also 4.4, so it is significantly below this line. And when we look at SGA against Minnesota throughout the regular season, we do see something pretty interesting. Now, SGA did face off against them on the 31st of December last year, and he actually had 3 rebounds in that matchup. Then on the 13th of February, actually had 8 rebounds there. Then on the 23rd of February, he actually had 8 rebounds. And then on the 24th, on back-to-back games of that same month, February, he actually had 10 rebounds there. So we have actually seen him go on the under, only 1 out of those 4 games. But a big reason why we do like the under for this situation is due to the situation. Like I mentioned, guys, when it comes to Minnesota and also SGA, Minnesota have definitely turned it up a notch defensively, especially since it is playoff time. A lot of their defensive focus has been on SGA, and it's definitely, slowed him down quite a lot in the rebounding sector, even though, that last game he did go on the over. We think, more times than not, we should see him go on the under. Also, looking at also SGA just during this playoff series, we definitely have seen him do a fantastic job in all other facets, but rebounding, he definitely hasn't really had that high of a usage rate and has left the rebounding to other players. So that's why we do like the under for this situation here. So SGA 5.5 rebounds for less, I think, is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Jaden McDaniels. So, Jaden McDaniels, this one's an interesting one because this one is also 4 rebounds for 5.5, and this one actually is for less. Now, looking at Jaden McDaniels, we've actually seen him go on the under in 3 out of the last 5 games. So it's been a bit of an interesting one due to the fact that, it has been a little bit up and down when it comes to his lines. But May 15th, faced off against Warriors, only had 4 rebounds in that matchup. Then May 21st, faced off against Oklahoma City Thunder, where he had 6 rebounds there. Moving on from that game, May 23rd, also faced off against OKC in Game 2 and had 2 rebounds in that matchup. After that, Game 3 had 6 rebounds on May 25th, and then Game 4, May 27th, had 4 rebounds there. So we have actually seen him do a fantastic job, but when we look at it, out of the 5 games, we have seen him go on the under more than he's gone on the over. And we also do see that his average over the last 5 is also 4.4, so significantly below this line. But when we look further, we also do see that when it comes to Jaden McDaniels, what we have also seen with the Minnesota and OKC matchup is that Oklahoma City Thunder do actually rank 20th when it comes to rebounds allowed. So yes, they do rank pretty low. However, the reason why we still do like the under for this situation here is for 2 different reasons. The first being is that when it comes to Jaden McDaniels, we actually have seen him take a little bit less usage rate in the rebounding department due to the fact that his main goal out there, or his main kind of game plan, is to actually just play defense on SGA. So his job is not really to do the rebounding out there, although McDaniels was a great rebounder during the regular season. As I always mention, every single playoff series is definitely different. There's different sort of strategies that teams have, and we have seen with McDaniels, his usage rate in the rebounding department just hasn't been there during this series. Now, we have seen him go on the over, but he did only make it over by 0.5, and that's not really convincing enough to us, which is why we do like the under for this one. Another big reason is that Jaden McDaniels tends to play that, small forward position, sometimes power forward, but mainly small forward. And what we have seen is that OKC actually do a fantastic job at restricting rebounds to the forward position. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. We don't really see Jaden McDaniels getting too active on the boards, and we should see him focus and hone in more on just marking SGA or even Jalen Williams and focusing more on that style of play. Now looking at Jaden McDaniels as well during the regular season, we definitely have seen him put up some pretty decent numbers. Now we saw them face off against each other on the 31st of December. Now he actually had 6 rebounds in that matchup. Then on the 13th of February, faced off again where he had 6 rebounds there. Faced off again after that on the 23rd where he had 13 rebounds. And on the 24th of that, same month, pretty much back-to-back games, actually had 10 rebounds there. So for that reason, we do very much like, the under for this situation. But although he has gone on the over in those 4 games, we do like the under due to the fact, unlike we mentioned with the last pick, it's very situational. When it comes to playoff time, it's very, very different to actually, the regular season. And we have seen different strategies from Minnesota, from Oklahoma City Thunder. And that's why we still do like the under. And we definitely have seen that over the last, 4 games that they have played. We have seen Jaden McDaniels go on the under in 2, and the 2 that he has gone on the over, he only made it over by 0.5. But the times he went on the under, it was significantly under. So that's why we still do like the under for Jaden McDaniels in this situation here. So Jaden McDaniels, 5.5 rebounds for less, I think is a fantastic pick. Now, getting into the next one, we're actually going to be talking about none other than Isaiah Hartenstein. So, Isaiah Hartenstein, as we all know, great player for none other than the actual Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, this one is a fantastic one because this one is for points, rebounds, and assists. So, a PRA, and this one actually is for less. So, this one is for 16 as well. So, sorry I forgot to mention that. But Isaiah Hartenstein, points, rebounds, and assists for 16. Now, we have seen him go in the under in 3 out of the last 5, and we do see that one of them he did actually push on. Now looking at those 5 games, May 19th faced off against Denver, we had 18 PRA there. We also saw May 21st in game 1 against Minnesota had a 17 PRA. Then May 23rd in game 2 had 16 PRA, had a 12 PRA on game 3 on May 25th, and then May 27th in game 4 had a 10 PRA. So we have seen Isaiah Hartenstein go on the under, like I mentioned, in technically 3 out of those, 5 games. Now, when we look at this matchup, it's definitely been a very big one because his average over the last 5 is also 14.6, so significantly below this line. So we also have seen in this matchup, we have seen Minnesota continue to play tough defense because we actually do see that Minnesota Timberwolves do rank 5th in points allowed. They also rank 5th in assists allowed, and then rebounds allowed, they also rank 8th. So they do rank very, very well when it comes to defense, and when we look at the playoffs, just playoffs specifically, we have seen Minnesota continue to do that. Minnesota ranked 3rd out of the 16 teams that did make the playoffs. They actually ranked 3rd in points allowed. They still ranked 8th in assists allowed, and then 3rd in rebounds allowed. So we have seen Minnesota really even turn it up a notch. Even though they're already a great defensive team, they've even turned it up a step further when it comes to their defense. And it definitely has taken an effect on someone like Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, a big reason for this is that when we look at Hartenstein, he isn't really the main player for this team. That's a big reason why we do like the under for this situation. Not only are Minnesota a great defensive team, which is restricting Hartenstein in general, but the fact that he isn't the star player as well, we are expecting in this closeout game for OKC players that are more of the stars, like Chet, like SGA, also Jalen. We are expecting them to actually do a lot more of the heavy lifting in this matchup, and we could see Hartenstein play more of, a simpler role in this matchup, more of a supporting act. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. Now looking at Hartenstein as well, we also have seen that Hartenstein has been playing very, very, less minutes than he used to. Now it's nothing really major, but it's definitely 4, 5, 6 minutes, sometimes at times, less than usual. And that's still definitely going to have a huge effect there. Now looking at Isaiah Hartenstein, and we actually have seen him face off against the Timberwolves, in some of the games so so far this season. We did see them face off against on the 31st of December. Now, in that matchup, he did have 15 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists. Then after that, we saw him on the 13th of February have 10 points, 12 rebounds, 1 assist there. Then next matchup on the 23rd of February, had 12 points, 9 rebounds, and also 5 assists. And then had 24 on the 24th of February, had 4 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists there. So we have actually only seen him go on the under in one of those 4 games. However, guys, like I always mentioned, playoffs have definitely been a different story, especially for this matchup between both of these teams. It's definitely been very different to when they face off against each other during the regular season. And I always do mention that. A big reason for that is due to the fact that there is a lot more defensive pressure, different defensive strategies, and for that reason, we still do very much like the under for this situation here. So for that reason, when you look at what the bookies are saying, bookies also have him favored for the under as well. So Isaiah Hartenstein, 16 points, rebounds, and assists for less, I think is a great pick. So as you all know, I do want to get these picks out to you as soon as possible, but Prizepicks is delayed with some of their lines. So here are a couple of players you should definitely watch out for when their lines drop. So the first player you're going to be talking about is none other than Mike Conley. So as you all know, Mike Conley is a fantastic player for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we've seen him actually do a fantastic job during the regular season. Now during the regular season, we saw him average 8.2 points, 2.6 rebounds, 150 he ranked in rebounds, 150th he ranked in points, and then also 4.5 assists, where he also ranked 47th. Now he did shoot a 40% field goal percentage, which I thought was fantastic to see. And when it comes to the Minnesota Timberwolves, they did do well in the regular season, and that's why they do find themselves in a great position in the conference finals. However, not the best sort of position, because Mike Conley and the Timberwolves are currently down 3-1 in the series. Now, just to remind you again about this series and how it's been going, OKC currently are up in the series 3-1. Now, looking at the standings between both of these teams, Minnesota Timberwolves did actually rank 6th in the regular season with a 49-33 record. So they had a 59.8% win percentage, which I thought was fantastic. And they also finished off the season with a 3-game win streak to put them in that position. Now they face off against Oklahoma City Thunder, who are a great team. They do rank 68-14, ranking first, and had a record of 68-14. Now on top of that, they also did, also have a win percentage of 82.9%. So they did a really good job there. Now, they also finished off the season with a 4-game win streak, but they also had the best record in the, all 30 teams. So it definitely was an important, season for both of these teams. Both are definitely very, very close at making it into the finals. And right now, Timberwolves need to win this game to keep their hopes alive. Now, both these teams definitely had some really, really good battles to get to the Western Conference Finals. We know Timberwolves went through the Los Angeles Lakers in round 1 and dust them off pretty easily. Then they faced off against the Golden State Warriors and beat them in 5 games. On the other side of things, you also saw Thunder have a good matchup in round 1 against the Grizzlies, and then they were able to knock out the Denver Nuggets in 7 games. So it definitely has been, a tough battle for both of these teams to be in this position, but they both have done a fantastic job to get to this position. Now, looking at, this matchup even further, we do know Thunder do rank very well. They do rank 3rd when it comes to points allowed. They also rank 4th when it comes to assists allowed, and then rebounds allowed. They do rank a little bit lower, as they actually rank 20th. So when it comes to someone like Mike Conley, we do very much like, the under for this situation here for someone like Mike Conley, but strictly just for points and assists. Now, a big reason being for this is that when you look further, you also do see that Mike Conley is, does have a higher usage rate in points and assists. So we are expecting a line to actually come out in those two, sort of categories. But on top of that, Thunder also do a pretty poor job at rebounds. So, because of that, it does give us a more 50-50 sort of approach with rebounds. So that's why we are staying away from it. Points and assists is definitely where you want to focus on, because Thunder not only do a fantastic job at restricting points and assists, but they also do a fantastic job at restricting both of those things to the point guard position. So for that reason, we do very, very much like, the under for this situation for someone like Conley. Now, another big reason as well is that when we actually look at someone like Mike Conley, what we also do see is that Conley is, in a position where he doesn't really have that high of a usage rate due to the fact that other star players in this Timberwolves team are taking a lot more of the usage rate. And now that this is a very much crucial game, we are expecting the stars of Timberwolves, where that's Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards, to take more, of control of the game and have a little bit more of a higher usage rate. So we are expecting Mike Conley to come into this game and have a little bit more of an approach where he is more of a role player or supporting cast to the rest of the players. And we have actually seen that throughout, just this series in general. Conley is a great player, do not get me wrong, but we definitely have seen him take a back seat. His minutes have been, somewhat just below average, as, he hasn't averaged the regular season minutes that he did. But on top of that, we also have seen him, really try to find stars like Anthony Edwards and like Julius Randle. And that's what we are expecting in this game, especially since it is a make or break game for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, looking at Conley over the last 5 games, we definitely have seen some big games from him and other games not so much. But we saw against Golden State Warriors where they did win 121-110 in Game 5 to send them home. He actually had 16 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds in that matchup. So he actually did a fantastic job there. Now, also in Game 1 against Oklahoma City Thunder where they lost 114-88. Now, this one was also a big, sort of game because it was to set the tone for the rest of the series, but he had 7 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds there. And then in Game 2, they also lost 118-103, where he had 3 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds. After that, we also saw on top of that, they face off in Game 3 where they won 143 to actually 101. So they had a very big performance in Game 3, 143-101 victory against Oklahoma City. And he actually had 6 points, 2 assists, and 3 rebounds there. So he did, or they did a good job. But when it actually came to, Mike Conley's stats, it wasn't really that much different. So looking at also Game 4, we got Oklahoma City Thunder, 128-126 loss in that Game 4. He had 6 points, 2 rebounds, and 3 assists. So you definitely have seen in this OK series, we actually have seen Conley take a little bit more of a back seat, allow the other players, especially the stars, like I mentioned, like Gobert, Randall, Anthony Edwards, these sort of players take a little bit more of that usage rate, and it has taken it away from Mike Conley. So that's another big reason why we do like the under for this one. Now, like I mentioned before, when it actually comes to Conley, we do like the under. However, I would definitely focus a little bit more on the points and assists category due to the fact that Thunder do a great job there. So for that reason, keep an eye out for the under for this situation here. And, when we look at the line, if it is too close to his averages, definitely look to go on the under. Now, getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about their matchup, Luguentz Dort. So, as you all know, Luguentz Dort, great player for none other than the actual Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, he's been a big asset to this team, and he has been with the Thunder for some time now. Now, during the regular season, we saw him average 10.1 points, 4.1 rebounds, 1.6 assists, while also shooting 43.5% from the field. So, we have seen him do a fantastic job there. Now, looking at someone like Luguentz Dort, we saw him also rank 123rd when it came to points. We actually saw him rank 107th when it came to rebounds, and 150th plus when it came to assists. So, he did rank pretty well in some categories, still above the 100 in all 3 categories. But, besides that, I still do think he did very well during the regular season, especially for his role. Now, looking at Luguentz Dort and Oklahoma City Thunder, they do find themselves in a pretty comfortable position because they are currently up 3-1 in this series. Now, they are also heading back home, so this will be a big game for them, which is why, this is definitely the game to send them home and for them to make it to the finals. So this is definitely a big game for both of these teams. Timberwolves are trying to get the win to keep their hopes alive. And then on the other side of things, you also see, Oklahoma City Thunder looking to close this out. So to avoid that next game. So for that reason, I definitely do like, this situation here for someone like Luguentz Dort, and we definitely see him being in a big position, because when we look at Minnesota Timberwolves, we see that they rank 5th when it comes to points allowed, 5th when it comes to assists allowed, and then also 8th when it comes to rebounds allowed. So when it comes to someone like Luguentz Dort, we do very much like the under for this situation here. Now, a big reason being for this is that when it actually comes to, someone like Luguentz Dort, a big reason why we do like the under for this situation is that we have seen Dort take a little bit more of just a defensive role in this sort of matchup. Similar to what we said to Mike Conley, when it comes to Dort's kind of, I would say usage rate out there, his main premise for him to be out there is just to really play defense and play some great on-ball defense and try to restrict the stars, whether it's Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, even other players, to really stop them from scoring. So we are expecting that from this next game as well. And we do believe that the scoring, the playmaking, and also the rebounding will probably be done from other players in this OKC team. And that's why we do like the under for this situation here. Now, looking at someone like Luguentz Dort, he definitely has had some decent games, but definitely nothing really convincing to us. But still looking at it, we see in Game 7 against Denver, where they won 125-93. So when we look at their Game 7 against Denver, we saw they had a 125-93 victory. So definitely a very good, game in that sense. But he only had 6 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 assists there. Then in Game 1 against Minnesota, we saw 114-88 win, where he had 5 points, 1 rebound, and 0 assists. And then on top of that, in Game 2, had another win, 118-103, where he had 9 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists there. Then in Game 3, we saw them lose 143-101, and he had 6 points, 1 rebound, and 0 assists in that matchup. And then in Game 4, had 4 points, 0 assists, and 4 rebounds there, with a 128-126 nail-biting win. So it definitely has been, a big, series for Oklahoma City Thunder. Yes, they have had some great games, but it's definitely been a tough battle still, but they still do find themselves in a great position. But, just reiterating again with Lu Dort, we do see him going on the under. We definitely have seen him go on the under multiple times during this series, and also not just during this series, but also during, kind of the whole playoffs in general. So we are expecting the under once again in this next matchup for someone like Luguentz Dort. And especially in the position that he's in, where he is playing a lot more of that defensive strategy. That's kind of his, I would say, goal out there, or kind of like his mission out there. We definitely see that being the same case coming into, this next game as well. So for that reason, we do very much like the under for this situation here. There really isn't anything to focus on. I think, points, rebounds, and assists, he definitely has a capability to go on the under in any 3 of those actual categories. So that's why we do very much like the under for this one. So definitely keep an eye out for Luguentz Dort's line. If there is, or if it is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under there. So getting into the next player, we're going to be talking about none other than Donte DiVincenzo. So when we look at Donte DiVincenzo, we do know how great of a player he has been during the regular season. Now, he actually averaged 11.7 points, 3.7 rebounds, 3.6 assists, while also shooting 42.2% from the field. So we have seen him do a fantastic job during the regular season. We saw him ranked 99th when it came to actually points, 132nd when it came to rebounds, and then 68th when it came to assists. So he definitely has done a fantastic job there. Now, looking at someone like, Donte DiVincenzo, we did mention that, he did rank very decently in all 3 categories. But on top of that, Minnesota Timberwolves have used him very effectively since they did trade for him, actually at the start of this season. And he's definitely been a huge impact. They are in a great position. Now, they are down 3-1, but they still did make the conference finals for sure. So this game is definitely going to be a make or break game for the Timberwolves right now. If they lose this one, they go home. And just to reiterate again, Thunder did come number 1 in the actual, Western Conference regular season, and then Timberwolves also did come in at 6. So, technically, if you're going off favorites, Thunder were expected to win, but anything can still happen. People have come back from 3-1, and because of that, Donte DiVincenzo and Minnesota are going to continue to fight. But looking at someone like Donte DiVincenzo, we do see that Oklahoma City Thunder, to reiterate, ranked 3rd when it comes to points allowed, also ranked 4th when it comes to assists allowed, and then rebounds allowed. We also see that they rank 20th. So they do rank very, very low in that rebounding, but high in points and assists. Now, when we look at someone like Donte DiVincenzo, we did see him have a fantastic game in the most recent game, but we still do see him going on the under in this next game in points, rebounds, and also assists. Now, although Thunder do rank pretty low in that rebounding category, Donte DiVincenzo does play that shooting guard position, and what we have noticed is that Thunder actually do a fantastic job against, the second unit. Also do a great job at the second unit, especially in the shooting guard position. So for that reason, when you look on a per position basis, Thunder, do a great job in that category when it comes to rebounds for that second unit shooting guard, and we will definitely probably see, someone like Donte DiVincenzo struggle. And he hasn't really been able to go on the over on those lines as well, so that's why we do very much like the under for this situation here. Now, looking at someone like Donte DiVincenzo, and especially the games he has played as of recent, we definitely see some pretty interesting sort of stat lines. Now, looking at some of them, we do see in Game 5 against Golden State Warriors. Now, he did have a great game, but we do see that he had 13 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds, and a 121-110 victory in that matchup. Then, moving on from that, we see in Game 1 against Oklahoma City Thunder, 114-88 loss. He had 9 points, 2 assists, and 1 rebound there. After that, we saw them face off in Game 2 against OKC again with a 118-103 loss. We had 8 points, 3 assists, and 3 rebounds. And then Game 3 had a 143-101 victory. He had 6 points, 3 assists, and 1 rebound there. Then in Game 4, he played 28 minutes, had 21 points, 5 assists, and 3 rebounds in that matchup. So he did play very well, do not get me wrong. However, when we look further, we still do like the under, as we do believe that game was very much more of a, heat check type game. Like I've always mentioned time and time again, guys, when it comes to playoffs, there are going to be times where people, score quite a lot, or people score a little bit less. And for that reason, we do very much like, the under for this situation. We should see Donte DiVincenzo come back down to reality. He had a hot game, which was great to see, but we should see him go on the under once again. And, as the math says, and as the, sort of stats that we look at, we should see him go on the under, whether it's points, rebounds, and assists. So for that reason, keep an eye out for Donte DiVincenzo's line. Like I always mentioned, if the line is too close to his averages, then definitely look to go on the under.